Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Lack of Interesting Conversation with your host, me, Trey Mendenhall. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me again today. I really appreciate it for you coming back. And if you're new, thank you. Welcome. If you like what you hear, make sure you go back and check out the rest of the previous episodes that we have uploaded, as this is episode number 20. Um, and we have, in my opinion, a lot to say. So I'd really appreciate it if you would go back and listen. Thank you. And if you do like what you also, if you hear, as always, feel free to comment, like, share, hit the notification bell on YouTube. Just look us up on YouTube and on the podcasting platform of your choice, and you will find us uh, on there. And it's pretty easy, especially I know the newest platform, as I announced last week. If you listen to YouTube music, uh, we are available there as well. So, uh, as you know, the last two episodes this past weekend was WrestleMaina 42. And before we get into the review for that, as you can tell, I'm wearing a Columbus Aviators. If you don't know, shirt. It's from the UFL here, of the United Football League. Went to my first Columbus Aviators game. And if you have a team in this league in your town, and if you want them to be successful, make sure you go out and support them. They played the Dallas Renegades, and I know in the game, the first 5,000 fans that walked into the gates, historic Crew Stadium, got a flag here, as you can tell. As you can tell, let me get close to the mic again. I'm sorry, but this is pretty cool, Mike. Here, and I also got to witness the 80 first ever win in franchise history. It's pretty cool. Had a lot more fun than I expected. Very thankful for that anyway. It was pretty fun. It was at the old, if you're um, know anything about like the Columbus Crew, this is where they used to play their home games before they moved to the new one, which is now Scott's Miracle Grove Field. I've been there a few different times, but definitely had a lot more fun than I thought. It was a very entertaining game as the Dallas Renegades is who they played. They came into the game undefeated 3-0, and obviously, as I said before, this was the Columbus's very first win as in the franchise history, and they were winless coming into this game. So, and they ended up pulling out the victory 28-14. It was honestly pretty fun. Really great prices on tickets, in my opinion. So if you got a local sport team like this and brand new leagues and stuff, make sure you go out and support them because that's the only way they're going to get to stick around and continue to be in your city. So, but here we go. Now on to WrestleMania. All right, WrestleMania night one here. Kickoff, obviously, the first two nights. Well, the first night, the first hour was on ESPN2. Yeah, you had the Las Vegas Mass Choir before uh, the end of pre-show, sing "God Bless America." But the first match to kick off night one was the Vision and I Show Speed versus the Usos in LA Knight. LA Knight. Yeah. Um, but and they get this match. This match, I guess, was okay. ISO speed on he didn't do as much as I thought. I thought for sure he would end up doing more than he ended up doing. He wasn't in the match very long. I think he hit a couple moves, but took a lot. Also took a few, but to end this match, Austin Theory, I guess, LA Knight threw I Show Speed and Austin Theory, and allowed to LA Knight to hit his finisher on Austin Theory, and he picked up the victory with a 1, 2, 3 there. And after the match, I know Logan Paul kind of throughout the match when I Show Speed was in there, he was kind of getting frustrated with Speed. But after the match, obviously Logan Paul frustrated took it out on I Show Speed. But the end of the match, but to I guess get the and he kind of set him up on the announce table at the end to put him through it as Logan Paul usually with the drone he has. Uh, likes to do a frog splash through the table onto people, but the Usos and LA Knight both got back in the ring. All three of them got back into the ring anyway. Hit the knocked him down there, and from there, they put Logan Paul on the table, and ISO Speed ended up hitting, I think, a frog splash, even though it looked just more like a regular splash, like Jimmy Superfly Snuka's splash off the top rope through the announce desk, and from there you got the at the end basically before they go to commercial break, you got them all yeeting, which is whatever. I'll be honest, I don't care. To be completely honest. But then you have, but then after that, there you had Drew and Jacob Fatu in a unsanctioned match, which may have been in the match of the night for night one. Physical. I don't think anybody got busted open like I thought they would, just based on the lead up between Drew and uh, Jacob Fatu there. But you have Jacob coming out on top, which obviously led to last night on Monday Night Raw, the main event there with what happened. I'll talk about that more about that, and when I go to night two. But this was how long was this match? The first match was 7 minutes and 10 seconds, and this match was 14 minutes and 10 seconds. And also, Jacob, this is the second win in a row at Mania. As I know, last year I don't remember who he faced, but I believe he won the U.S. Championship last year at Mania. So he's officially 2-0 Mania. Then you had the basically the official start of the pay per view. I guess is what you would call it, because the first hour, since it was on ESPN2, you had to jump to the ESPN app here, which is, gosh, I don't know. As you would go find a theme, really on both nights, you have these 9-hour breaks in between matches, commercial breaks, which is an absolute mistake in my opinion. But the third match on the card, you have the Fatal Four Way for the Women's Championship. The champions Nia Jackson, Last Legend versus Charlotte and Alexa Bliss, and also Bailey and Lyra Valkyria. Then you had them against the Bella Twins. But it turns out Nikki Bella, which had been a rumor going leading up into Saturday, as she was actually not cleared to compete, and ended up being true because she was in a walking boot. Believe she had surgery on her ankle and was not able to rehab and heal up in time for Mania. And with that, there led to the surprise return of Paige. I guess, quote, surprise, quote unquote, even though I believe it was PW Insider. If you're on like Twitter, follow those places or the dirt sheets, like a lot of wrestling fans do, had confirmed that Paige had resigned with WWE, as she previously was with WWE. I know she was her first night in the company while on Monday Night Raw from NXT. She defeated AJ Lee for the then Divas Championship, and it's kind of fitting that on her first night back with the company, from as she was with AEW before, she come back and won another championship, which was her first WWE match in 8 years, as she had injured her neck in a house show against Sasha Banks in December of 2017, I believe. And then from there, she had to medically retire, which around that time a lot of wrestlers like Daniel Bryan had to do the same thing because of his neck. I know Edge had to do the same thing back in 2011, but both of those two guys were able to come back and I guess, and Edge is still actively wrestling. But it is crazy because Paige has been around so long, but she's 33. Um, she's the same age as me for now. But anyway, it is crazy because it feels like she's been around so long. She's a veteran. She's been wrestling for honestly majority of her life. She was started wrestling when in her teens. Just to really think about that, that she's only 33 compared to, as I guess, the other women's wrestlers in this match, as they're older, and then Paige. Most of them are, and how long they've been in the business is comparable to how long Paige has been wrestling, yet she's, like, much younger than them. It's pretty crazy. This match was only 8:35. I was just kinda surprised. I kinda enjoyed it. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy it very much, but, I ended up enjoying it a lot, but then you move on to the Women's Intercontinental Championship match, Becky versus AJ was only 8 minutes, 15 seconds. As you get a pattern, these matches did not have a lot of time to, uh, I guess, accomplish much, as honestly, it feels like the commercial breaks were longer in some of these matches, especially night 1, and Becky ends up coming out on top here, and to be honest, towards the ending, even though I know Becky has and referee Jessica Carr have been having some sort of issues here in the past, but it honestly felt like it turned more Becky versus Jessica Carr, which could lead to a match down the road. But I mean, AJ and Becky this is supposed to be a very personal feud here, and you'd figure they want to this go at each other and rip each other's hair out and tear each other apart, but that's not really what happened. But Becky came out on top here, and then Gunther versus Seth, which was well, heck, honestly, it might have been this is contender for the best match of the night. Be honest, they were both going at each other, very physical, like most of Gunther's matches is, especially with the chop. But it was pretty back and forth really until they went out to the outside, and Seth had gotten up their hand, but out of nowhere, Braun Breaker appears to spear Seth out of uh, his body like Braun Breaker can with his spears. Just ask, I show speed. But because of that, and what that was able to give Gunther the upper hand back, and from there on, Gunther was able to choke him out. And then after that, the semi-main event was for the Women's World Championship versus Stephanie Becker versus Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan debuted, I guess, not really debuted, but came out her to her new song. Her entrance was is what it is, I guess. But in this match, body match, like I guess it feels kind of predictable that, of course, he had Roxanne and Raquel interfered, tried to help Liv come out on top, but ultimately that ended up costing Stephanie the match because she took them out and she got back into the ring. Liv was there to take advantage and hit Stephanie with the finisher. Liv would get the win there to become an overall two-time women's champion, which went number 9 minutes. Then John Cena, he opens both nights. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Then does the announcement for the attendance because night 1 was 50,816. Bianca Belair coming out to announce that she was pregnant to the crowd. But congratulations, I guess. But then we move on to the main event, which you had Pat McAfee come out first, which makes no sense. I don't know why you would do that. Then you have Randy Orton come out with him. Usually managers don't get their own entrances, but I guess nothing about this feud made sense. Then you had Cody come out, which was pointed out on Twitter. It was kind of like Cody's version of the Bat Cave because he had four of his previous attires um, set up there, like in Michael Keaton's Bat Cave, especially like in the Flash. He had all the different suits. If you saw that movie there, or like even in I think it the Batman the Animated Series had them, but if you're a fan of Power Rangers, like in Power Rangers Zeo, you had the old Mighty Morphin Power Ranger suits behind them in the new command center, stuff like that. Then you had Cody come up with the gold, all gold skull and the golden coat, which was super awesome. Um, but then to start the match, he had Pat basically attack Cody, hit him in the head with it, and basically after that, he had Cody hit the crossroads on Pat to get his receipt, even though I would have liked Cody to punch Pat in the face and kick him in the give him a nut shot like he did uh, to Cody. That's how you get your receipt back. But in this match, then you, um, They go to the outside. Um, but Cody sets Pat up on the table to act like he was going to put him through. Then all of a sudden, Jelly rolls there. Jelly roll gives an elbow to Pat, put him through the table, stretchers Pat out. Pat, of course, does gives the thumbs up like they do on the football field when a player gets stretched out. Obviously, it's much um, much more. That's a bigger good. I guess that's more of a good sign for when a football player does that or anybody gets injured playing when they look like it's really hurt really bad that they're signal that they're okay. Uh, but this was the longest match of night one. Um, I guess it was a good back and forth match, but I don't. I guess I know a lot of people. Some people hated this match. A lot of people. There's people that loved it, like Busted Open host Dave LaGreca. But Bully Ray on there said he just emotionless. I guess really that's kind of how I felt because of the story and how convoluted it was. I guess never really no reaction. There was a reaction, obviously, when Pat ended up coming back out with that neck brace, that foam neck brace around his neck with the referee shirt on. Uh, Pat, probably the biggest, loudest reaction of the night one. Uh, then after that, I think Cody ended up hitting the crossroads and pinning Randy for the 1, 2, 3. Uh, Cody kind of worked this match as a heel. Did a lot of things he normally does not do. Like he gave Randy a low blow, poked him in the eye, stuff like that. But right, I mean, both men ended up being busted open, also getting blood. But also after the match, Cody raising the title belt above his hand, above his head, like this, like that, but then Randy taking it and hitting him in the head with the belt, then punning him, which also consequently gave Cody a massive black eye, as you saw last night on Monday Night Raw. His eye ended up swelling up where he couldn't see out of it. Pretty got him pretty good. Randy did there, but overall, I guess night one was okay. I do think a lot of pressure was on night two because just the way night one ended. You had Randy standing over Cody with the title held high. But I, I guess night one was just confusing, and the main event was just as confusing as the entire build to the match was. But anyway, we go to night two on ESPN. John Cena again opens the match. Then the kickoff, the night and kick it off on the first time ever WrestleMania being live on ESPN. You have Oba versus Brock Lesnar. This might be my favorite match of the weekend. This match was everything you wanted it to be. Two behemoths going at each other, giving each other the best shot. You had Oba start off hot, then you had Brock kind of take over. Then end up Brock ended up hitting the F5 on him on Oba. Then Oba kind of, I guess some people no sell it, but he does sell it on his way up, getting back up. Then as soon as he's up, Brock turns around, sees he's getting up, boom, grabs his neck, choke slams him, then power bombs him, which he calls the fall from grace, kind of like a Batista bomb for the 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, ding. Short and sweet, 4 minutes, 42 seconds. Exactly as this match honestly was perfect, but it did everything it needed to do. Got Oba the victory. Oba hot as anyone on the roster as he opened Monday Night Raw last night. To say the Rua is here to stay or whatever he said like that. I forgot what he exactly said, but basically that's all he said. Mic drop. All you needed. Obviously, they got big plans for the guy. He's over massively, which is great. But after this, I think the shock of the night came with Brock taking off his gloves and his boots, leaving them in the ring, which is symbolic for wrestlers, for pro wrestlers, when they are calling it a day, retiring, they leave their boots in the middle of the ring, which Brock did. Paul physically, obviously very emotional, which is not surprising. Paul has been there since day one with Brock in the WWE's main roster, managed him since his very first day on, and as an active WWE main roster talent. Definitely thought supposedly this shocked WWE. I know there was a lot of rumors, which made sense since SummerSlam is in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's where Brock grew up in Minnesota, went to the University of Minnesota where he became NCAA champion in wrestling. There, he figured got stars perfectly aligned for Brock to go out there. But Brock calling it a day at WrestleMania, the biggest stage of them all, the grandest stage of them all, the granddaddy of them all. And obviously, they WWE already capitalized on WWE Shop releasing W Brock retirement merch, and not a surprise. Then at the end, the night on ESPN, you had the Intercontinental Championship ladder match. You had Penta, the champion, Rey Mysterio, and Javon Evans, the only three to get entrances because of stinking commercial breaks. Crazy. So Rusev, Dragon Lee, and JD McDonough, they did not get their entrances, but all six guys killed it here. Especially, I felt like the MVP was Rusev. I thought Rusev had a great showing. JD McDonough too. He ended up getting uh, taken out by Penta doing a Mexican destroyer on onto a ladder, but also Ray Rusev, he did great, honestly. For a guy not on TV very much, I thought he did great. He had a great showing. I think his showing Sunday ended up helping him being put on TV Monday last night on Raw. But I mean, they all did great. Car crash, obviously. Javon Evans doing the OG kata, like a jumping from one turnbuckle all the way to the ladder to give Rusev that OG cutter, which is just the things that that guy can do were insane. He was kind of like, oh my goodness, that during his entrance, like this crowd is crazy wrestling, and what ended up being the total attendance. I will give it to you early as John Cena announced just before the main event. Night two had 55,255 people for a total of 106,072 people overall for both nights. Not bad. A lot better than what I originally thought. But then, let's see here. And then at the end, going off on a high note, you got Penta retaining. Javon Evans came close, but Penta ended up retaining, which in my opinion is the right idea. Then to start the kickoff the show, the pay-per-view version, the PLE version of WrestleMania, since you moved strictly just to the ESPN app, they had the U.S. Championship, Sami Zayn, who that crowd booed out of the building, in my opinion, versus Trick Williams. He was with Little Yachty, I think that's how you pronounce it, but I'm not 100% sure. But the people love Trick, especially with his CVS receipt coat. But I guess Sammy, he did work the match like a good guy, but no matter what he did, the crowd didn't like. They were all over Trick, and Trick ended up winning this match, which, in my opinion, was the correct. Even though I didn't predict that, but I think it's the right decision. You're going to strap the Rocket two tricks back. That guy's over. Out of all the new talent on the main roster, I think he's second to Oba as the most over new superstar on the roster. Then you had Dirty Dom coming out with on a throne, like he calls himself the king of the luchadors, versus the demon Finn Balor with the whole demon entrance, which everybody kind of always said that entrance is made for WrestleMania, even though Finn does not care for that demon when he's going to do the demon persona, where it to be announced beforehand, as it probably would have got a pretty huge reaction if that was not announced. A pretty good back and forth match, as this match was ended up being a street fight, turned into a street fight due to Dom's complaining that he was facing the demon during the pre-show. And you had Finn winning, obviously, which is, in my opinion, the correct decision. A pretty good back and forth match. Then the semi main was Jade versus Rhea for the WWE women's championship, which in my opinion was Jade's best match she's had since she started wrestling. Rhea definitely got that out of her. Of course, you had B-Fab and Michin trying to interfere and help their girl Jade win the match, which brought out Io Sky, who a lot of people were upset that she didn't have a match on the card. She is one of the best women on the roster, so I totally get that. Despite that, all that help that Jade tried to they tried to give Jade that was not enough to help her overcome the Rhea, and Rhea ends up pinning her, becoming a four-time women's champion. This is, in my opinion, the best women's match on the entire card all weekend. Uh, then before the semi-main, when Cena was announcing the attendance and the overall attendance, you have Dan Housen come out with Miz and Kit Wilson had a little fun segment there. But Danhausen, he's pretty over. He's come a long way since debuting at the Elimination Chamber, which didn't went over like a fart in church. I guess you could say. Personally, Danhausen, he's pretty fun. Everybody, you mean you get it. He's not super serious, but he's definitely a fun character and gives levity to the entire crowd with being serious all the time. Then you had the main event of the evening, the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, which was the match of the weekend by far. The longest match of the weekend. They went 35 minutes, I believe, 33 minutes, almost 34. By far the match of the weekend. Roman coming out back to his original bloodline, head of the table's theme song, had pictures of High Chief Peter Maivia, which is Rock's dad, if you didn't know. Roman and The Rock are cousins, I guess cousins, quote unquote. They're not really actually blood cousins. You have had Yokozuna, you had Umaga, which you were not able to see in that tight squared shot because Umaga, I didn't even know Umaga was up there until they panned out. You could see the entrance, the Titantron on the faraway shot. You had Offensika, the Wild Samoans, which is uh, Roman's uncle and his father up there, and he had Yokozuna. If I didn't mention him, if I mentioned him already, I'm sorry. But although it's just a history lesson about how far, honestly, the Samoan dynasty goes back in professional wrestling. Then you had Roman coming out looking like $1 million with the gold, like ankle, not ankle, wrist brace and stuff he wears. Now, usually that's a telltale sign if he's going to win or not. Then he had Punk coming out to his Ring of Honor, which was an old independent wrestling promotion for a lot of years. A lot of people would probably say that was the second biggest wrestling promotion in America when WWE was the only game in town. But that was where he wrestled before he went to WWE the first time in WWE. I know he used that when he was in AEW as well, but that I don't think a lot of people know about it. But then he came out with a jacket with people, a lot of WWE family members, production crew, and all that. Michael Cole did a great job talking about who they all were with his dog Larry as also, and a tribute to the legendary Harley Race on the back of his jacket. Obviously, in this match, off the charts, 5 stars, 50 stars, doesn't matter how many stars you give it. This match deserves them all. Even Roman acknowledged it. Acknowledged it on Twitter that they made magic the day after, but they did it a heck of a job. There was some stuff there where I guess like Punk get Roman hitting Punk in the head with steel steps. I understand that you want to have leeway in this match, but some stuff you're going to do a blatant disqualification that would get you blatantly disqualified, automatically disqualified. You should not do this. With how personal this feud has been, they should have just made it a no DQ or a street fight or whatever. A no DQ probably would have worked better, but I don't know. But if you want to use weapons and stuff like this, especially because how personal this was, and because that ended up busting Punk open. I think that would have been the way to go. But great back and forth, both great storytellers, both master crafts at their job. With Punk hitting Roman with a GTS, his finishing maneuver towards the end of the match, that caused Roman to bounce off the ropes back on the Punk's shoulders. After a grueling match, Punk lifts him up They give him a second one, but end up being too much, and Punk collapses with Roman, which allows Roman to kind of recover, hit the spear for the 1, 2, 3, and your tribal chief is back on top as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Uh, as you can tell, my overall record, my predictions, I did a lot better night 2 than I did night 1, but with night 2 ending on such a high note, I definitely think it helped going into Monday Night Raw unlike last year with how awful the Cena Cody WrestleMania main event was, and with the whole Travis Scott thing. I definitely think they definitely ended on a much higher note this go round. But with that being said, out of both nights, night 1 and night 2, I think night 2 was far superior, a far better matchup. So anyway, that's my review of WrestleMania. If you didn't like it, I guess you can tell me I was bad. If I need to go more in depth, it's up to you. I don't know. But anyway, I want to thank you for joining me again and listening to me review this WrestleMania. Going forward, I'll probably do a little bit more WrestleMania wrestling stuff, maybe like give my top 4 Mount Rushmore of my favorite wrestlers, not who I think are the greatest wrestlers of all time, but my favorite wrestlers. I think that'd be a good idea. But also Thursday is the NFL draft. So next week we will probably be deep diving into that, especially with the Cowboys. That's my favorite team. Maybe I might have a guest on talk about their favorite teams, see what their thoughts were about their team's drafts. But also remember we're in the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So as I said before, on ESPN, like we did with the March Madness, you can also fill out a bracket. I don't know if you still can or not, but if you have, please join us. The Lack of Interesting Conversation group on there. Join that group. As of right now, it's just me, but I'd like you to join in, see who can come out on top at the end of the playoff. I know last night my Dallas Stars ended up tying the Wild back up, so that's great. I know tomorrow they have another game. Since this is coming out on Wednesday, Wednesday is my birthday actually. So, but anyway, if there's one thing, um, if this is the last podcast I ever do, if there's one thing I can tell you since it's my birthday, um, I would just ask you to open your heart to Jesus. Search. Um, if you feel that tug on your heart of Jesus, hey, I need uh, just listen to it. He's right there on the door of your heart, knocking and asking you to let him in, as he says in Revelation 3:20, that if anyone that would open the door and allow him him in, he will dine with you, and you will dine with him. He loves you. He cares about you. And if that wasn't true, he would not have went to the cross, which has obviously made the way for us to be free. So I will catch you next time on the Lack of Interesting Conversation.